Oh, well, I forgot to set my intro. So usually my intro plays right now, but it's not playing on this episode because anyway, it don't matter. I didn't add it back to it because I was doing sponsored chat and I had to record it. So I didn't feel like sitting down with people from Japan with the whole stuff going on. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another live Pin the Gas podcast. And today it's an absolute honor to sit down with my friend, Shawn Hughes. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh man, listen, absolute honor is all mine, my friend. So listen, me and you got a lot to talk about. And we got about an hour and 15 minutes to try to knock it all out. So
Sure.
whatever we miss, we're definitely going to sit back down and do a part two. But anyway, enough about that. Shawn, again, it's an absolute honor to sit down. And as I always start off on these podcasts, man, is tell us where it all started with you on these beautiful twos.
So I guess when I was a kid, I had the opportunity to ride dirt bikes a couple of times, but I wasn't into motorcycles from a super young age, right? I'm really envious of all the people that were encouraged to do that when they were young. I didn't have quite those same opportunities. I bought my first motorcycle when I was active duty in the Marine Corps. And that was pretty short-lived. I actually wrecked that fairly shortly after buying it. And then had motorcycles kind of on and off for the first part of my career. And when I moved to Japan, got orders over there, I bought a Hayabusa, and it was a 2001 Hayabusa. I still have that today. And it just really was it for me. The 99 had been a dream bike. I had an opportunity to sit on one while I was stationed overseas and loved it. And it turned out that there was an American who had brought a Hayabusa over to Japan as part of his military move and rode it in traffic and got scared because it was bigger than most of the cars over there. And it just kind of fell into my lap after I came back from a deployment to Iraqi freedom. So I went ahead and purchased that, brought that back to the States with me. And I have loved that thing through ups and downs and any number of mishaps in between. But that was really when I kind of became serious about it. I had done a track day on the Busa, and for me, it wasn't the best choice. I will tell you that it's just not terribly manageable for somebody at my level on the track. And so what I did was picked up an SV1000 that I was hopeful would be a bit more fun, and did a couple track days on that. Ended up going down to Barber Motorsports Park for an STT event. It was a 2-day event with a bunch of friends of mine, and had an absolute blast on Saturday, had an absolute blast on Sunday. And in the last session, my ambition outweighed my talent, as they say. And I spectacularly destroyed that bike in a high side. I kind of swore off the track. Oddly, I was active duty at the time. They had to send out a naval safety message for a single vehicle accident and motorcycle training. I caught hell from a lot of people that I was in the command with. And I said, hey, that's, enough for me. And I had the Busa, but I said, hey, I'm just going to stick to the street where I don't need to be as focused, which was a real misnomer. But I don't need to be as focused and trying as hard, I guess, if you will. I had a bunch of friends that I used to meet up with in the mountains, in the Smoky Mountains, out on the tail of the Dragon and out on the Cherryla Skyway, things like that. And so we did those things. But it wasn't until I came up here. I currently live in New Hampshire, and I met a friend of mine, a gentleman by the name of Isaac Davis, through a mutual friend. He knew that I had a bike that was track worthy, if you will, and really just gave me a ration of hell for not ever going to the track. And talked about me being old, talked about me being fat, talked about me being lazy. And one day he finally threatened that he was just going to come get the bike and take it. And so I talked to my wife about it and said, I appreciate it, but I'm kind of tired of getting shit. I think I need to go back to the track. So for my 50th birthday, my wife got me a track day with the Penguin School. And I had never heard of the Penguin School, which is interesting because I've had, woodcraft parts on the Busa from back in the early 2000s. I had no idea what it was. And so I went to the track day, the basic track experience, had an absolutely fantastic time. And, they talked about this Super Street program that NEMRR has. And Super Street is intended, I think, to be a low barrier to entry piece of crack that is designed to give a person a nibble and force them to have, a bodily and emotional need to start racing. And so it's just super low barrier to entry. Your prep is the same as for a track day. And, the idea is you complete the track day, you've got basic familiarity, and then you go race. I had a misunderstanding of it. I guess because they do the Penguin Days in conjunction with a race weekend for NEMRR, I was like, hey, I don't know how I'm going to feel Saturday after doing the track day on Friday. It's been a while since I've been on the track. So what I'll do maybe is not do anything on Saturday and maybe sign up and see about doing a race on Sunday. And found out that that's not the way it works. You have to go to the riders meeting on Saturday and you have to do some of those events. So I wasn't able to race that first weekend. I was able to race in September, about a month later, and just absolutely loved it. Getting out there on the start line and actually waiting for the lights, actually going to start, everybody heading into turn one at the same time. And it's a much smaller number of people with the Super Street, or at least it was then. So you don't have quite as much jockeying for position, and everybody's a little bit apprehensive. But it was a very different mindset than a normal track day for me. And from the first time, it was like, okay, I'm doing this. It's not a good idea. It's not smart. This is going to hurt. And I'm in. I'm, all the way. And so I really, really was at that point trying to figure out, what I should do to try to A, get better, B, get more comfortable, and C, just get to know and interact with the people around me. Now there's a piece of this that I'm leaving out. And even though that was the first time riding back on the track, that wasn't the first time that I had been to the track. And I guess what's kind of weird is when I was active duty military, that one of the purposes that you have is when you're doing something for the most part, especially maintaining aircraft the way that I was, your aircraft are going to do something. And I worked on cargo helicopters. So the gist of it is they're going somewhere to insert somebody, they're going somewhere to extract somebody, they're going to drop off, supplies, chow, ammunition, something. And so there's a thought that when you're in the process of trying to launch an aircraft, if it doesn't launch, somebody doesn't get something they need, which means if you don't do your part in getting the aircraft to launch, then you're contributing directly to somebody not getting something they need. And so there was a sense of urgency and there was a sense of satisfaction that came along with that. So I retired from the Marine Corps. I took a civilian job working in aviation, but it was a little bit different. The missions weren't quite as urgent. The workforce was a little bit different. And so when I moved up here to New Hampshire, that all kind of hit me right in the face. I was doing something completely different than I had ever done before. I had been affiliated with the military and with aircraft my entire adult life. And when I came to New Hampshire, I found myself working for a company that builds motors for submarines. And very, very far away from aircraft, very far away from, the things that made me feel like an integral and important part of a team. Not to take anything away from what I do, it just this sense of urgency, it wasn't the same, it wasn't there. And I don't remember who forwarded me the information, but it was for Jim Whittam in a program called Vet to Track. And there were two sides of the program. One was to take veterans and put them on a track, on a motorcycle. And one was to park people with a team with Moto America so that they could kind of feel what that team environment was like. And so I had a really weird experience the first time I did it with Jim. And it worked out fantastically. I'm going to give a couple people a shout out just because I have an opportunity to do so. But so Jim's like, hey, can you be down in New Jersey? And this is it was late in the week because I think somebody had been selected and they dropped out. And so he was like, hey, can you do this? I'm like, absolutely, I'm on board. So we go to New Jersey, and he wasn't there to meet us. Something had happened to his trailer. And so he had made arrangements for somebody else to pick us up at the gate at New Jersey. And then they were going to take us into the team. Well, the problem is that the woman that he passed us off to, who was absolutely fantastic, did not know the specific rider that I was dealing with. This guy by the name of Chris Spates, AMA 138. He is he's Moto A Twins Cup, and he's not riding actively now, but just a fantastic human being. And so I go, and it's awkward. It kind of just drops me off, and I'm there. He's there as a privateer. He's got one person helping him, and I'm some schmuck that just got dropped off with a Vet to Track t-shirt saying, hey, I'm Shawn, and I'm here to help, As you can imagine, for somebody that didn't know me, like, he's like looking at me like, what do you do, right? Like, what? I don't know what's going on or what's happening. And he was nice enough. He really was. The problem was he had gone out in practice and had blown his head gasket. And so he had come back, and after a few minutes, he's like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm packing up. There's nothing for me to do. Blowing my head gasket. There's just no point in being here. I'm going home. I said, okay. And we started talking, and I said, hey, I happened to look at your rider bio and learned that you work for Sikorsky, and which at the time he did. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I never worked for Sikorsky, but I worked on Sikorsky products. And I said, I worked here, I worked there. And I had mentioned that I'd worked over in Saudi Arabia. And he's like, I delivered helicopters to Saudi Arabia. Do you know this person? And it became this 6 degrees of separation thing where suddenly we're naming a bunch of people that he knew, that I knew, that this whole thing. And the dynamic completely changed. So here we are. He's a professional Twins Cup racer. I'm little Johnny Nobody that's known him for a couple of minutes. And suddenly we're just going back and forth in an environment where we had common experience, we had a background, we had people and points of connection. And at some point in the conversation, it was like, yeah, it really sucks that I have to go home. And I'm like, well, do you? And he's like, well, I can't race. And I was like, well, why don't we just change it? Let's pull it apart. Let's take care of it. And he was like, well, what's the worst could happen? Why not? I guess the bad thing is if we end up having to pack a bunch of loose parts up into the back of the van and go. So what's funny about this is that for people that know Eli Block and his dad, Eric, they were pitted right across the little causeway from us. And this is 7 or 8 o'clock at night. We've got lights on. And Eric Block is just being as obnoxious as he could possibly be, right? He's loud. He's making noise. He's throwing stuff. And apparently they had made hot dogs or something. And so he comes running over asking, if we want hot dogs. And so, yeah, sure, why not? And then, next thing you know, we're having to borrow a couple tools from him. We get the bike back together, and Chris is like, hey, all right, we're not going to do qualifying. We're just going to go out and do the race, and we'll see what's going on. Maybe he saved something in the weekend. And he went out, he did the race, and he placed 15th. So, in the points. And I remember meeting him in Parc Ferme with the stands. And I've said this to him, which is the only reason I'm not embarrassed to say it now. But I tell people, he got off the bike in Parc Ferme and he hugged me in a way that I'm still not entirely sure I'm comfortable with. It was absolutely like he was just so stoked to have gone with, from a, hey, I'm going to pack up to, getting points in the race. And it was just such an amazing experience because it was the whole point of Jim's program with Vet to Track, right? I now felt like I was an integral part of what he was doing, of the effort to get him out on the track and to get him out for the race. And, if we weren't doing the stuff that we need to do, if we didn't get the bike back together, if we didn't get it prepped, if we hadn't checked the tire stickers, if we didn't make sure he had good pressures and gas and all the things that now it was like being part of a crew that was, launching an aircraft. And it's like, hey, this is a whole team effort. And if anybody doesn't do their part, it doesn't happen. And when it does happen, it was amazing. So what we started doing is my wife and I actually started doing corner marshaling for NEMRR. And we did that for a couple of rounds just to try to kind of get back around the track. Had the opportunity to work with Chris several more times over the years. Had the opportunity to work with Max Van and Brian. And it was just, it was awesome going to different tracks and interacting like that. And, you know, the different environments and different people that I've talked to that have been involved in Jim's program, it's some of that comfort, some of that confidence, and some of the ways that the teams function internally that would determine what they would allow you to do, right? Like the trust and confidence that they have. But I've never heard of anybody saying that they didn't walk away feeling like they were, no kidding, part of the team, part of the effort, that, you know, they enjoyed the ups and downs and whatever was going. And it really is one of those sucks you in and makes you a part of the team. So now jumping back to, you know, Super Street and starting to race, and back to my buddy Isaac, who was age shaming me and fat shaming me and, you know, every other thing that he was still doing yesterday. But it was, hey, I've got a spot in the garage. You know, I'm not there all the time. You feel free to take the spot in the garage with me. That kind of evolved to me meeting the other guys in the garage and developing a friendship with them. You know, Dawn cooks, which always helps for me making friends, because, you know, she's like, hey, you can be as much of an idiot as you want to be. I'm just going to make people happy with food, and, you know, we'll balance things out there. And anybody that's been to NEMRR at the track and come over knows exactly what I'm talking about. But, you know, that developed into, hey, you know, I've got some tools, I've got some stuff, I've got ways that I can help people, that I can contribute and be a part of what they're doing in exactly the same way that I felt when I was helping Chris or when I've helped other people. So it's really been this weird kind of holy round picture, if you will, of how I came into this and what I was doing. And it's been an absolute blast. And there are days when I'm not entirely sure that actually racing is my favorite part of it, right? Sometimes my favorite part is just being able to have somebody grab me and say, hey, can you give me a hand with this? Or, hey, I need help. Or, hey, you know, just seeing somebody struggling and being able to offer, you know, a hand or something, I think is my favorite part. Just being back in a paddock, being back in an environment where people rely on each other, where people interact, and where you feel in almost everywhere you look and turn that you're part of a team. Even coming off the track after a race, you know, there's people that are happy because you battled with them and it was fun going back and forth. Or there's people that, you know, saw you make a great pass and were like, hey man, you did great. And there's even people that will give you probably more than you like of mostly constructive, sometimes not criticism, right, on how you're doing it, but never with a spirit of meanness or as a means of being unkind. Like I have literally never met a person that I thought was being a dick at the racetrack, right? Not when you take into consideration what they're looking for, you know, keeping other people on the track safe, doing the right things, doing smart things, and trying to make you better. And ultimately, I think everybody is looking for that competition. So in a way, if they can help develop you into more competition, it makes them better. It's this whole self-licking ice cream cone, right? Where it keeps going round and round and never stops. And I think that's what makes it such a great place and such a fun environment. So that's a lot from a simple question that you asked, but I hope that kind of gives an idea of not only, you know, where I started and how I got to where I'm at, but the way I feel about it. Like it is hard to describe sometimes what it's like being in the paddock around motorcycles, around racers, being on the track and racing. I can genuinely say there's nothing else like it, at least for me.
Me too, my friend. I call it the beautiful circus, right? Where you meet the most beautiful, amazing people. It's a brotherhood, right? You feel the most at home away from home. You know,
Yeah.
It's hard, like you said, it's hard to describe and put into words that people have not experienced, and everybody should go out there and experience for sure. You know, and what a proper mega journey, bro. It's like you know, you started out and then got out of it, and then it pulled you right back in, and look at you now, right? So
yeah, it's funny too, the number of people that I've had that, well, typically are questioning my sanity, I guess, in some ways, But the number of people that said, "Oh, I could never do that," and I'm like, you have no idea how easy it is to do, right? It's not, and trying to convince people how much safer riding on the track and racing is than riding on the street, especially in most places today, right? Whether it's the conditions of the road or other drivers not paying attention, people using their damn phones and all that stuff. Yeah, it you try to tell people, listen, when you're on the track, everybody's wearing safety gear, right? Which they're not always doing on the street. People's bikes are in a reasonable condition because no matter if it's a track day or a race, you're going through some kind of a tech inspection. Everybody's going the same direction for the most part, right?
We hope.
Probably other things to worry about, but and you have medical attention or you have attendance there in the event that something happens. Almost none of those do you have on the street when you're riding out there. And so what's funny is since I started riding on the track and racing, I it's probably been a couple of handfuls of time in the last few years that I've ridden a motorcycle on the street because it's not as much fun when there's so many different things you have to worry about. And it's just such a different mentality that you're riding with on the street where, you know, on the track, you're being aggressive and you're trying to get position and you're trying to get the line. And on the street, it's almost, you have to be in self-preservation mode because the second that you're not, if you start riding, at least in my experience, if you start trying to ride on the street, like you ride on the track, you're either going to be a hazard to yourself or a hazard to somebody else. Right. And so why not do it in a place, or why wouldn't it be better to do it in a place where everybody's creating the same hazards for each other and everybody's doing the same things to mitigate those risks, right? Now it's back to, are you being smart on the track? Are you trying to ride beyond your ability? But if you're not trying to ride beyond your ability, you're never getting better. You're never improving. That's the environment to do it, you know, not on the street. And it feels like there's a lot of people that I know that ride aggressively on the street, that do things on the street that are probably questionable. And the only concern is, very similarly to the track, it's a ticking time bomb. You never know when that one time you hit a pothole was that you hadn't seen before, or you hit gravel, or some driver's not paying attention. You know, you see that stuff on the Dragon all the time, is you have people that are crossing the double yellow on motorcycles or on cars or anything else. So there's a point where it doesn't matter how well, how safely, how attentively you're riding, you're subject to whatever's happening everywhere else on the road with every other driver. And for me, that's where I've had so much more enjoyment being back on the track with people that are at least thinking the same way I am, and where I have an idea, this is what I want to do in that corner. That's probably what they want to do too. And you can plan for that. So it's just it's a different atmosphere. And like I said, it's just one of those things where I try to tell people when they say I could never do that, I'm like, then why not try? Because you'll either decide it's not what you like doing it, but it's not that you could never do it. It's just that you haven't tried it. And it's not just NEMRR and it's not just Penguin School. I mean, every organization has track days. Every organization has some way that they're trying to pull people into it, that at the very beginning, they try to make the barrier to entry as low as possible to encourage people in, because it really seems like the sport in general is seeing fewer and fewer people watching, and there are fewer and fewer people that are participating. And so it almost feels like anything that we can do to encourage anybody to come participate, to try to bolster the sport, it feels like there's something going on where it's kind of dropping off. So anytime somebody says I could never do that, I'm like, come with me and I'll prove you wrong.
Right? No, 100%. It's funny how that works when you try to get people off the street onto the track, and they just have this whole misconception about the whole thing, right? And they're like, well, how do you justify being safer? And then you go exactly what you said, the potholes. Oh, look, squirrel, and people on their phones. It's you know, I bought an RC51. I've had it almost 2 years. I put maybe 300 miles on it. That tells you how little I ride on the street. Because every time I go out, I feel like I'm in defensive mode. I got to be super defensive. And guess what? I'm not relaxed. And when I'm not relaxed, I'm not having fun, right? So what's the point of even going out? You know, and you're 110% right. But I'm not defending anybody, but the flip side of the whole GoPro Insta360 tail of the Dragon, let's put all the suits and drag. I mean, it's to me, it's like, it feels it's more accessible to everybody, right? Then go down and buy a used bike or a sports bike, whatever, Harley, whatever it is, and go out there and replicate their favorite Mark Marquez or whoever it is, you know, and they feel like the racetrack is just so far out of their realm that they could never
Well,
do it. When in fact, it's super easy to do
that
and to get
that
into it.
that's one of the reasons why in when you look at the podcast that you do and the people that you have on, you have a very broad spectrum of people, right? And that's kind of one of the things that I try to portray myself as is I'm some schmuck that I'm older, I'm out of shape, right? I've got, lived my life, so my body's in not the best condition, right? And so when you start looking at people that are like, oh, I could never do that, what I'm hopeful of is that people say, well, wait a second, it is accessible, it is a way to get back out there, and there's not a lot of difference in going and picking up a relatively cheap bike, especially the going on the forums, going on Facebook Marketplace, finding bikes that are former race bikes that have a lot of the things that people would do to them to prepare them for the track already there and relatively inexpensively because they're moving on to newer bikes, newer models, or just advancing in their racing pursuits. It's easy to do it. I do think that there's a little bit of your point about having the Insta 360 and going out there and putting on a show. I think that there are times where people are more into that than in riding themselves, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. The world's a big place and there's room for everybody. But in some ways, when you're on the road and what you're focused on is trying to get the camera in and trying to get the best angle, trying to get the best picture, on a street with other traffic, and what you're worried about is what you're doing. Again, you're not worrying about everybody else. And in some ways, you may not realize if you're contributing to the problem, right? So it not trying to take anything away from anybody. I've seen some very cool videos of people on the Dragon that are riding the Dragon and they've got the camera going. And then I've seen other people that have the cameras and they're trying to drag the knee, just like you said, and trying to look like Mark Marquez and trying to come up, with the best action shot they could possibly get. And then, something goes wrong for them or somebody else and they can't figure out why. Well, I mean, you were probably riding a lot closer to the edge than you realized. And when you went over that edge of your talent and the conditions for riding, you didn't know it till it was too late. And what were the ramifications for the people around you? And so that goes back to being on the track where everybody understands the risk. Everybody acknowledges the risk. Everybody's in it for the same place. When you're on a street, that's just not the case, so it's cool when you watch people ride wheelies up and down the street in traffic. Yeah, it's great that you can do that, but it's not very cool when you see something go wrong and a person either loops their bike or, something else happens unexpectedly. And next thing you know, there's that reality of if you hadn't been there doing that, then whatever came as a result of it wouldn't have happened. So 100%. It's a tough thing and it's real easy to second guess. I prefer personally on the street just not to be in that kind of an environment, if that makes sense.
No, 100%. It's like anything, Shawn. It's a double-edged sword, right? It's pick your poison, so to speak. So, but hey, I'm with you. Track is the only way to go. So I want to get to a couple of these comments because they've been flooded in, and the first one we have is this girl named Dawn Hughes. She says Hughes fan of number 465, Shawn Hughes. Let's go.
Yeah, she has to say that. So
she has to say that.
I'm lucky to have her. Everybody knows that. I don't know what I did to deserve her. She is my biggest supporter and probably the only reason that I'm able to go to the track and to be able to race. And quite honestly, I don't know many people that would pick me over her. So if we ever split up, I'm screwed.
I love it, man. We got thank you, Don, and those hearts were for you. Mr. Davis Isaac, man, says, oh, here it comes, blaming me for back to the track, right? Yeah, keep it up. Yeah,
that's 100%.
So who's faster out of y'all two?
Oh, Isaac definitely. Right. Isaac definitely, but he is getting less faster as the time goes on. So we'll see about that.
Eventually you'll catch up.
yeah. We do have I have a running joke with Isaac where I beat him in one race. And it just so happened that normally we had it timed out because of the way that we were, racing and his pace versus my pace, that I knew when to look for him. And this one race, I just never saw him. we had gone out for the sighting lap. We had gridded up, and I never saw him in the race, and I didn't know what happened. And it turned out that he had a zipper blowout on his leather, so he had pitted in, and we went out for the sighting lap. So as far as I'm concerned, I beat him in that race, and he'll never take that away from me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. We got the legend himself, Reese Brody from REB Graphics. If anybody needs a helmet wrap or bike wrap or whatever.
This guy, I got to tell you, you talk about pimping my ride. I when I started on the Super Street, and I had a bike that was track ready, or at least I thought it was track ready. I had an R1 that was ready for the street, and so I ended up taking that to the track. I had a GSX R1000 that I had bought for a track bike and just never got around to using it. So the R1 is what I started racing, and I had put a couple of stickers on there, some Vet to Track stuff, and I had made up a couple of stickers for Moto Minute Clinic, which is the effort that I have in the garage. And I had met Reese and I had met Scott a couple times. Rest in peace, ride in peace. The interesting thing is that it goes back to the atmosphere in the paddock and what people are willing to do to help each other, right? And so I got connected with Reese, and I had a couple ideas, and Reese is like, hey, I can maybe help you out. And the pictures that you put when you kind of advertised the podcast, the pictures of the livery on my bike, what Reese did was absolutely insane. And it's funny because I get to show my kids, well, I feel bad because I've destroyed the bike now, so that body work is all being redone. But it was like a pimp my ride thing. And I have two sons where I'm like, hey, if you can't be fast, you have to look good, right? And Reese made me look like a dream. So as long as my bike was on stands and I was in the garage, you couldn't tell me apart from anybody else. It wasn't until my slow ass got out on the track that okay, something's wrong here. You shouldn't be pedaling that thing. But having said that, Reese, it really is incredible. And Reese is he's just such a great human being. Like some of the things that he's been through, it's mind-boggling for me that he's able to do what he does. And what is really, really cool for me, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but when I went down to, Daytona last year for the 200, or when I've gone to motorway events, the number of bikes that Reese has his name on for having done the graphics package is doing nothing but growing. And I have the same workmanship, the same graphics, the same effort from Reese and my bike as these guys that are phenomenal talents on professional race teams. And honestly, I don't even know how to say it other than that is just cool as shit, right? Like that to me is just neat as all be out. And the stuff that he does, the imagination that he puts into coming up with some logos, what he's doing, custom stuff and designs. And it's absolutely insane what he can do. And like I said, you walk around feeling like $1 million. I mean, I get it now why, women want to go to fancy stores and get new clothes, because when I'm standing next to my bike, I feel a hell of a lot better than I do when I'm not,
I love it. And you're right. Reese is a good friend of mine. We had some long conversations on the phone. He's absolutely a proper mega human being. I can't wait to finally meet him. He's one of my friends on Facebook. We talk it back and forth. I never met him in person, but I can't wait for the day to finally get to meet him. But yeah, he's absolute.
He's a rock star.
He really is. He's just one of those rare human beings that I have an honor to call friend in this what we call this short life. So yeah, big shout out to REB Graphics people. If you need anything, 100%. Hit them up. Absolutely hit them up. Dan 232 says Team Moto Minute. That's right. We'll get to that too here in a second. We got Eli Colby in the house. Look at that sexy hunk of man on the right. Which one, him or me? What are you talking about here, Eli? And big shout out to Eli Colby. This is actually his leather suit that he gave me at Jersey in 2023 when right at the beginning, really, when I kind of took over the podcast. He gave me those as a present. So honorably displayed them on my wall all the time. So Eli's an absolute legend. Dude, super pumped for him and Andrew Way in the Twins Cup this year. So let's fucking go, people, right?
I am hopeful. He did let us know that there's a possibility of him making a guest appearance at the Classic this year again. So I'm hopeful that he does make it up. Yeah, it's funny. Being at NEMRR and seeing so many guys that came through Penguin and NEMRR and have progressed into Moto A and then just ride the wheels off a bike. I don't know that there's anything that Eli can't ride and ride well and fast, right? And to be able to talk to those guys in a professional environment, whether they're acting as a coach or just somebody that's giving you advice, or in a social environment, where just being able to bullshit with them for a minute or stop by and say something to the paddock. I mean, it is such a testament to how the people are. And I know that, when we got the news that Eli was going to be down in Florida permanently and, not going to be seeing him regularly up at Loudon, you're super excited for the guy. Like you said, it's awesome. But at the same time, it's like, well, shit, hope that now we got to go to Moto A events so we can bug him there, So right. It'll be interesting, but the best of luck to him. Honestly, super excited to see what he does with that.
Yeah, me too. Him and Andrew Way, they're both, and his dad Eric, dude. I love all of them. They're absolutely amazing people. I remember when I first met his dad at Jersey, obviously in 23, and like our energies just instantly matched. It was absolutely amazing. He says it was funny because I laughed when me and you first started talking about Eli. He had just popped up in and put a comment in, and he says, "Well, that was good timing on my part to join." Absolutely, your ears must have been ringing that we were talking about you, buddy. We got another good buddy and super fast, talented, absolute legend, in my opinion, Chris Durbin in the house. What is up, my man? He says, "What's up, guys?" You, my friend. Dan232 says, Dawn rocks. Yes, she does.
I told you if we split up, I'm done for.
You're in trouble, right? Even Eli says Dawn's a lethal weapon when she gets she's an amazing chef, right? Y'all are making me hungry. So Dawn, when we finally meet up, I need some of that good cooking over there everybody's talking about. And you're right, it's a familyhood, right? Brotherhood, familyhood. I call it our beautiful circus because you meet the most amazing people in the whole world, right? And it's people that you talk to on a regular basis, and every time you see them, it's like you pick right back up where you left off. It might be 4 or 5 months, and it's just like, oh my God, what's up? You get the hugs, and it's absolutely amazing. We got a good buddy of mine, Tim, dude. What is up, Tim? The Ducati Dads. If you guys go check his podcast out. It's absolutely amazing. He says, what's up? What's up, brother, man? Chris Durbin says, I'm closer to track family than 90% of my blood related, and that's pretty much a fact, He says, preach it, brother. Let's go, right? But you know what? Tim does make a good point on this. A tank of gas in a twisted road is more readily available any time of the day than a track day, but the consequences are so much higher on the street. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about it being more readily available for 99.9% of everybody that hadn't experienced the track or don't know nobody that's ever been to the track. And it's funny because a lot of them come to Moto America and they might have intentions on signing up for that track day, but do they really? Right? It's one of those things that how bad do you want to do it?
Yeah.
So it's that double-edged sword that I always talk about, right? So it's like those little mini puzzle pieces I talk about, right? Everyone's got to fall into place in order for you to and that goes with anything in life. I don't care what it is, So Chris says we will get Shawn there. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Absolutely. And then Don says RBG in the house. What a great talented guy. Yes, he is. Eli says, thank you, Shawn. I'm going to miss y'all. My NEMRR family, much love. Hope to see you soon. Of course. I can't wait to see y'all, Eli. What am I, chopped liver, Eli? Come on, man. I love Eli. Vabusa 007. We're keeping Don no matter what. Bro, you're right. You're done. Absolutely done. Mr. Davis Class says facts. Yes.
Yeah. If I was less secure, that would really bother me.
Don says, I'm from the South. Cooking is our love language. LOL. Yes, it is. And I can't wait to get some of that good cooking too, because I like to cook myself. I get it from my mom, but we'll get more in that later on when we get in the whole personal side of things. One question I did have, me and you had talked about is being older in age. I don't see it as being older in age, Shawn. I think the total opposite of everybody. I call it getting younger, right? Because when we're born, we're bald headed with no teeth and we're wearing a diaper. A lot of us, when we get older, we're going to be bald headed with no teeth, maybe back in a diaper again, right? So to me, it's like getting younger. Okay. So, but you probably do get a lot of questions about that. So tell us about your experience of, being the younger gentleman in the crowd and still getting out there on the track.
I think one of two things typically happens when somebody sees me for the first time. They either think, "Oh, this guy must have been around for forever," or "What the hell is this guy doing?" Right?
Is this Santa Claus?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. That's the downside of Dawn's cooking. Sometimes I think she keeps me fat to make sure I don't go anywhere. Right? But having said that, I wish I could subscribe to your getting younger theory because my body does not feel like it's getting younger. But having said that, I think that there are some things that I have to learn differently because of some of the things that I've been through and the condition that my body's in at my age. And quite frankly, my body, if I was in perfect health, doesn't bounce quite as good today as it did, 25, 30 years ago. So there's ways where I have to try to figure out how to protect myself more. When I talk to people and I'll have somebody say, "Hey, do you ride?" And I say, "Yeah, I ride occasionally." If Dawn's with me, I say she's the one that rides because she rides a little Sportster super low, an 883. And so when we go someplace, I was like, "Oh yeah, she rides," and I just carry her bags. But when they ask me, the assumption is that I ride some big cruiser, right? That I'm out there, "Hey brother," revving and doing all the, looking like I'm going over, the speed bumps and all that, reflectors in the road. And I do my share of that because let's face it, the cruisers are comfortable these days. But getting on a sport bike, I think that there's people that make assumptions, whether it's because of ergonomics, whether it's because of speed, whether it's because of, reflexes and timing. People just assume that there's like some kind of a cutoff in that. And, what's interesting is anybody who thinks that has never seen somebody like Eric Wood ride, right? Like they've never seen Rossi ride, right? Where he was at his age, which was ancient from motorcycle riding perspective.
Look at
right?
Josh Hayes,
Look at
Jeremy McWilliams.
And what's funny is, and I hope you wouldn't get mad for saying this, but I've seen Josh take some abuse on the track and takes a licking and keeps on ticking, right? And like that guy is a machine. And so when you look at people like that, you see that it can be done. Now, I'm not near in that shape and have nowhere in the same universe those kinds of talent. But the enjoyment of it is enough for me. And I think that's one of the things that, as we've brought people to the track to come watch, it's amazing how many people have said, "I had no idea this was here. I had no idea that people were doing stuff like this," right? As prolific as racing is on television and on YouTube, there's people that just don't see it. And again, it goes back to I could never do that. And it becomes this circular conversation, right? I enjoy getting out and doing some long distance riding. And especially because of the comfortable aspect of it, when me and a couple of friends get together and go do that. But it's not the same as being on the track. And the pain of being on the track is relatively short term, right? You're out there for a few laps, you come back in and you wait until your next race kind of thing, or you wait until your next session on the track day. So I think that it's a lot less painful than what people expected it might be. And we've had a couple of people that we've been able to talk into coming out, and the reality is there's guys that are older than I am that come out. But when we've brought people to the track, whether it was to see it, whether it was for people to do a track day, when we've been able to encourage them to come out, almost to a person, it's been, I had no idea. I didn't realize it would be this much fun. I didn't know what the environment was like. And every person is, "I'm coming back. One way or another, I'm coming back." And there's a gentleman that popped up in there. I didn't recognize the screen name, but I'm almost positive because he mentioned Moto Minute Clinic, is a guy named Dan. And Dan is a guy that I rode, cruiser motorcycles with on the street. And one day invited him, said, "You want to come out and see the races?" And he's been coming out and helping in the garage ever since. Every event, he's there, right? And he's out there, he's safety wiring, he's cutting safety wire, he's checking tire pressures, he's getting the bike up and off stands. When we're doing electrical system checks or having to help people with fuel pump issues, stuff like that. He's right in the middle of it. And so Dan went from a good friend, a person I enjoyed riding with on the street, a person who was enthusiastic about the races, to he's one of the people that I couldn't go to the track and race without. And it's interesting, he interacts with me and Isaac and the other people in the garage the same way that Don does, the same way that I do. He's a part of the team, and it's just another example of how the environment really sucks you in. It doesn't matter what capacity you're there at. And so it's sad to me a little bit to see some of the fan base dwindle. And I hear stories about the fans and the stands that used to be, in years past at Loudon, even for the Classic, when we have a lot of professional guys there that are putting on a fantastic show. But it's almost like it's harder to get the word out because there's not as many people coming to see it. And so they don't have a frame of reference when you talk about it, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
But to be honest with you, when most people talk to me, and I get this at work all the time, you're doing what? Like just not even comprehending what's happened. And what really sucks is when you go out and you have a decent spill and you come back with something broken, and then you have to explain to them how that happened. And in some ways, I'd rather just tell people it was some kind of bizarre blender accident than, try to go through and explain what happened on the track. Because universally it's, well, you dumbass shouldn't have been there to begin with. And, well, if you don't understand, I can't explain it to you, kind of thing. So, it's
110%. Yeah, you can't. That's hilarious. But you're right. We don't bounce like we used to. We don't roll like we used to, right? We just splat, and then it takes us 9 months to recover, right? Even from a strain something. You're like, oh my God, are you kidding me right now?
I would love to say that it's splat and then spring back up, but I'd be lying. It's nowhere
that's
near.
why I just said splat, right? Just leave it at that. That's hilarious. Eli says, miss you, love you too, Chris. You already know, Eli. I can't wait to see you at Daytona, my friend. I was laughing when you was telling that. We're going to get to Davis's other comment that I was laughing about. He says, I don't think my body hurt this much when I was younger, right? And then he says, no, being a bigger person just makes you harder to kidnap. And that's what I was crying laughing about. That's awesome.
Well, that's one of the beauties when I hang out with Isaac, because he's so much bigger than me. I don't have to worry about it. I either have protection where I'm going, right? Because nobody wants to mess with Isaac, or I just have to worry about getting stomped on as he's trying to run away. So
right?
It's either way. It's not the kidnapper I need to be worried about. It's Isaac. Grape Ape, Shaq, Bigfoot, you name it. He's one of the biggest humans I've ever met, and he's just a fantastic person. And I hate to tell people how cuddly he really is, but anybody who's met Isaac knows, right? Like if you know Isaac, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's hilarious. You said Cuddly, a good buddy of mine. Big shout out to CFE and the whole crew. Tim, he's part of CFE. We went to Mid-Ohio. We all had to bunk in rooms, right? And he comes in there and lays on top of me. He's like, "You want to cuddle?" I said, "Oh my God, you feel like a big gummy bear." So that's his new nickname. We started calling him his gummy bear. Yeah, so I get you. I feel you on that, man. That's hilarious. I love you, Tim. Can't wait to see you. Oh my God, dude. Tim from the Ducati desk says we had an absolute legend here in the PNW that was 79 years old, known as No Lean Gene. Let's go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's like motorcycles is the best thing. It's like my freedom above all else freedom. Nothing matters. It's hard to explain when you're so deeply in love with a machine. It's too. I don't think it's just a machine. It's the camaraderie. It's the family. It's just everything involved with it, right? Dan232 says it's awesome to be involved. Loved our time at the track, dude. I do, man. I can't wait to come to Daytona. I know it's like 2 weeks away, but I kind of wanted time to slow down a little bit because I know when I show up, I'm gonna go like this and I'll be driving home. I'll be like, damn it, now I gotta wait a whole nother year, or maybe at the end of the year and go back to the Azure one, which I'm gonna do. So yeah.
Speaking of that, with any luck, I'm gonna do what I can to drag Isaac down there. I had every intention of racing with Azra down at Daytona last year, and unfortunately, broken collarbone stopped that effort. Of course, there's guys that I race with who would say I was being a sissy and should have gone anyway. And I just didn't have it in me, and I didn't need to get a divorce. So it was one of those things where the caution was the better part of it, I guess. But making every plan we can to be down there this year, even if Isaac doesn't know or acknowledge that yet.
I love it, man. It's Chris says ibuprofen is your friend at our age. I mean, yeah, I mean,
ibuprofen is for rookies.
There you go, right? There you go. Baboose 007 says motorcycles are the best thing. Is it spring yet? I know, right? Let's go. I wish it was spring yet. Yeah. So, dude, let's talk about this whole Moto Minute Clinic racing, man. How did all this start? How did all this come together?
So it's interesting. Like I said, I was a mechanic in the Marine Corps, and when I got out, I got my my A&P certification, which is it's an FAA airframes and power plants mechanic license. And with the motorcycles, I don't make enough money to pay other people to do stuff that I can do. And going back to Michelle VA Busa there, her and her husband Omar, who were good friends of mine individually before they got married, we used to go to the mountains together. This is back when we would go, out to the Smoky Mountains and Tail of the Dragon. And, we would show up for meet and greets we called them the Busa Bash back then. We would show up and there would be 78 of 80 Hayabusas that would show up in the mountains to go run the Dragon. And everybody would start planning on things that they wanted to do their bike, right? With a mix that big, you would have people that were good at doing maintenance, or people that had done certain mods, or people that were, just good with motorcycles in a way that other people weren't. And so, you would have people that be like, hey, while we're up in the mountains, I want to change something. I want to do something. I want to, put Brembo brake calipers on, or I want to change my master cylinders, or, just something that you would do. And so you would start having lists. And Omar, Michelle's husband, and I would start making lists of like, hey, do people need oil changes? Do people need radiator flushes? At one point, we were doing throttle body syncs because that was a big thing that people just didn't know how to do. And we would get together and we would do it. And then Omar got to a point where he would start doing kind of modifications to people's trailers. He would outfit them electrically. He would put lights up. We started getting into using the Pitbull trailer restraint systems, and, he would measure it out. And Omar is a geek in the best possible way. And he really digs into, the best ways to do those things. And we were just sitting there talking one day, and we're like, there's got to be a way that we can make money doing this, right? Like, there's got to be a way that putting this together, that it would at least be self-sustaining, right? There's nothing worse than going to help somebody and then having to spend a bunch of money out of your pocket to go buy stuff that you need to replace them. And one of the things that I learned as a mechanic is that I would go so far as to say 70% of being a mechanic is not having skill. It's having tools that make it that you don't have to just rig stuff up and make something work, right? Yep. The number of times that people have tried to make a tool work that's different than the right tool for the job is probably got a pretty high percentage of when those jobs go south, right? And
it don't end well, right?
Yeah, you're already dealing with an environment where, one strip bolt is the difference between 20 minutes and 17 hours. Right. And so the idea was, how can we do this in a way, whether it's, working on bikes or working on trailers or just doing stuff in general, how can we do it where it becomes self-sustaining? Like, how could we do it where it would fund the trips down to North Carolina and Tennessee to go ride the Dragon? And because I was working full time and I was overseas at the time, it was kind of difficult to make that work. I had started an LLC and was doing a couple things here and there, but I had the fortune to go to some suspension training, which suspension training is really difficult to get, right? And I think there's really good reasons for that. I mean, they don't want just anybody going in and messing with stuff, but the reality is everybody goes in and messes with their stuff, right? And so, I really became fascinated with that because a lot of people were focused on making their bike faster. And I was like, I want to be focused on making my bike stop. I want to be able to turn. Like, going fast is great, but there's a point where you have to do something different and going fast is not the answer. And so one of the things that would just constantly catch my attention is people have stuff leaking out of their forks, right? Their forks are beat up, dinged up. You know, they're pressing down on the handlebars and you're hearing all kinds of creaks and squeaks and all kinds of other weird noises. And it was like, your ride can't be fun. It can't be comfortable if your bike is not doing what you want it to do, if your bike's constantly trying to throw you off it. And so I really became focused on, okay, I have some tools, I have a little bit of knowledge. How can I put those things together? And just kicking around names, Moto Minute Clinic, just kind of, I don't know, it said something to me. It might sound kind of silly, but it just said something to me. And so we said, hey, let's do this, and threw together an LLC. So moved up here to New Hampshire, and a lot of things were different. Like I said, I took on a job that was very different than anything I'd ever done before. I'm working in a role that's really different than I had ever been in before. And so I didn't have as much time as I thought I was going to have. I didn't have as much space as I had hoped to have. And so we were still trying to figure out how we could do things, but I had to kind of back away from the business point. And I hope what I am about to say resonates with people a little bit. But when you have something that you enjoy and you figure, you get to the point where you think, I could make some money doing this, there's an apprehension for me that came in that said, you know, if I try to create a livelihood out of this, it's going to become work. And I don't know that I would enjoy that, right? The work sucks. That's why it's called work. I don't want what I enjoy doing to be work. And so I didn't want it to be something where I'm dependent on it, if that makes sense. And so the beauty of it is that I'm still able to help people. I'm still able to do stuff. I'm able to learn from people that are more skilled than I am. I'm not trying to take any business away from anybody by any means, but there are people that either don't have the means to do something or don't have the knowledge that I'm able to work through, at least on a basic level. And quite frankly, there's some people that have come to me where I've looked at their bike and said, there's no way I'm letting you leave my garage with your bike in this condition, right? I literally had a person take one of my bikes and go and leave their bike there because I was so concerned about the perspective on it, you know, what the condition of it was. So when I decided to start racing, I was like, well, how can we build this into what we're doing, and how can we make this like kind of get the word out about what we're doing? And that's where the Moto Minute Clinic piece came into it, like having it on the livery and talking to people about what we're doing. And so there's some guys in the paddock that I'm able to help out. There's Isaac comes over, and, you know, he and I work. I've got his bike on one lift and my bike behind me. You can see it in still pieces for the most part, trying to get ready for this season. But it's taken some of the tools and knowledge and experience that I've amassed over my adult life and just trying to put them to use in a way that's advantageous for me and helpful for other people. And so the racing just seemed like, hey, that's something I can slap on the side of the bike, and I can, like I said, get the word out. And then I thought, well, you know, I really like all these racing shirts that people have. And so I was able to go out and get racing shirts, right? Like I was able to work with Darwin over at Envy, who made some fantastic racing shirts. And to be honest, like I said, I've got two kids, two sons, and I've got a daughter. And so like I look like a racer, right? Like it's not just, hey, I ride motorcycles. Like, hey, I actually look the part. Again, as long as you don't see me riding, you never know. But it's one of those things where it kind of had become an extension. And it's funny because I laugh about it. I actually had a person that reached out to me on Facebook. It wasn't very long ago. And they're like, hey, Shawn, hey, do you know how to get in touch with those Moto Minute Clinic guys? I was looking for some help with this. And I'm like, yeah, you're talking to them. It's all good. Like it's, you know, we can work through it. So it's just I guess it's an avenue and it's an outlet. And one of the things that is really significant to me, as stressful as working on a bike can be when stuff goes wrong, is it's such a departure from what I do in my full-time job every day. and it gives me the opportunity to interact with people while I'm working on the bike or about working on bikes, that it's such a stress reliever, right? Like coming down here and sitting in the garage. And Don had originally said that I wasn't allowed to have TVs, a fridge, or a bathroom in the garage. And I have TVs and I have a fridge. I think if I tried to park an empty bucket anywhere around me, she'd probably have something to say about it. But, she doesn't want to be a garage widow for the most part. So there's times when she comes down and in the garage at the track, she's doing tire warmers and she's putting the bike up and taking it off stands and stuff. So, it's all there. But Moto Minute Clinic is really kind of an effort that has expanded. And like I said, it started out as, me and Omar and the things that we were doing on bikes because we enjoyed it and we enjoyed helping people. And then we got, Michelle involved and with some artistic stuff and really being you guys are idiots and, there's got to be better ways to do it. And then Don was more than happy like a spider monkey to jump in and climb all over that. And so, and now it's expanded. Like I said, Dan's part of the team, and Isaac, even though, he doesn't want to be part of a team necessarily. He's my teammate, damn it. And I'm just not taking an argument about it. But that's what it is. And like I said, I will help anybody I can in any way that I can. And sometimes that includes saying what you're looking for is beyond my scope. It's beyond my depth. And I think you should go here. And I think that maybe people don't always realize that I do that. And they're usually surprised when I say, you should go see this person or go do this. But I recognize and appreciate when people have more skill, more tools set up, a better ability to support somebody, because ultimately I want them to have the best thing that they can get. And if I can provide that, fantastic. But if what I can provide is a direction and where to go, then same thing. I've helped in exactly the same way. So Moto Minute Clinic is every bit a passion project for me. And it's that place where, like I said, there's, I think, a couple of different directions I could take it, but the idea of making a living on it just scares me because I don't want it to turn into something different than what I enjoy.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. It's that's why I stopped working in dealerships, man. I got like flat rate, the whole I fell out of love with it. I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this anymore, right? Like I want to just do me and my bike and work on what I want to work on and forget everything else. So yeah, I feel you on that. Well, listen, dude, I'm pumped for you. I'm proud of you, man. I think that whatever visions and goals you have with Moto Minute Clinic racing or just your racing career in general, just in life in general, bro, all the way around. I hope you achieve it 10 times over, bro. And obviously you got Don in your corner that cooks up all them proper meals for you too as well. So yeah, let's go on that, man. Yeah. So are you going to be at Daytona in March?
I'm not. We went last year. This year we were trying to work it out, and I have too many things at work going on for me to get down there. Isaac will be down there. And I wish I could go. We even talked about trying to just fly down like on Thursday night and be there for the weekend. And I just couldn't make it work with the things that I have going on. So I wish the best of luck to everybody. The entry list looks insane.
It does.
And I think it's going to be action packed. I wish I could be there.
Yeah. Are you going to any East Coast Moto America rounds this year?
So we typically go to Jersey. I hate what's going on. And now that Pitt's gone, we went to Mid-Ohio. One of the things that's neat is that Penguin School does Ducati track days. And then, obviously Aprilia does track days on the backside of motorway events sometimes. So we try to follow that a little bit. And we may even I might be able to convince Isaac to go to Azra, New Jersey this year. He keeps trying to get me to go. So yeah, we will be going to a couple of motorway events. I just don't know what it is. Dawn actually is a corner marshal that works some of the motorway events. So there's times where she goes and then I don't have anything to do and I don't know what to do with myself. So I walk on like an idiot just trying to collect autographs for her. My wife's a quarter marshal. She's helping to keep you safe. Will you sign for her? It's awesome. And most of the riders react really, really well to that.
Yeah.
Especially, there's nothing creepy about an old fat guy coming up and asking for a signature for his wife. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's interesting. But
I love it. Well, I was gonna say because I'll be at Jersey for sure, so we definitely got to meet up in person at Jersey this year for sure.
You ought to think about coming out for the classic.
Yeah, I want to. I've had a lot of friends reach out to me. He's like, come on out to the class. I'm gonna try to make it work. I'm doing Daytona this year. I'll be doing Daytona, Road Atlanta, VIR, Barber. I'm gonna skip Mid Ohio and do Barber because I haven't been to Barber yet.
Sure.
And then of course Jersey. And then in between I go to VIR for like Azra and Precision Track Days and hang out with all my friends and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the Daytona 200 though. You're right. It's a stat class. We got my boys back over from the UK, Peter Hickman and Davey Todd's going to be there. My boy Danny Webb and Gary Johnson. So Josh Herron could be a 4P. It's going to be first time that it's a point scoring event too with the Daytona 200. So it's going to be Mr. Davis says I think VIR is calling us, Shawn. Yes, let's go, bro. I'm absolutely all with that. Vabusa says, Shawn, I'm dropping my Busa off because it shouldn't be ridden in its current state. I'll grab it in a few months. And then Mr. Davis also says, you need to talk to REB to make sure you have more Moto Minute Clinic logos than I do. Just saying.
Yeah. That's not happening. That's not happening. I just got a flag for both of us.
Right. Dude, I need some of those stickers, Isaac. Matter of fact, I'm working on some stickers too. So as soon as I get some in, I'll make sure to put some in the mail for you, Shawn.
Yeah, if you send me your address, I'll get some for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, dude, this has been a lot of fun. I want to transition into the second part where we sit down and we get to know you away from all the racing and military, which, by the way, thank you again for your service. I know I said thank you again, but thank you.
It was my pleasure. The Marine Corps treated me much better than I probably deserve. So
love it. Yeah, I like I said, I grew up in the military. I know my dad was a fighter pilot in the Navy, so we hung out with all the Navy boys. But anyway, listen, Shawn, tell us something we don't know about you at all.
It's interesting. I can tell you a number of things that you don't know, but I know with Don and Isaac and a few other people out, that'd be tough to do. Let me think. I'm a big fan of Disney movies and can sing most of the songs. Probably shouldn't, but I can. That is much to the detriment of my daughter's, mental health. I have Ariel the Little Mermaid tattooed on my side in an embarrassingly large size, and it's not just because I'm fat. What else? I'm a Second Amendment guy, and
me too.
I did used to make jewelry as a stress reliever. That actually saved people's lives. It kept my hands busy and instead of hurting somebody.
Instead of strangling people, I get it.
I like to shoot. I'm a gun fan, and I think that responsible ownership is a right and a responsibility. And I go to the range when I can. I try to practice so that if I'm ever in a position where I had to use a gun as a tool, that I'm able to do that. And I'd like to think that I set a pretty decent example for my kids and for other people about guns and gun safety. I'm a very happy drunk, which I think is surprising for some people. I think they would expect something different. But other than that, it's I don't know that there's a lot else that I could talk about.
That's hilarious. He says, I'm a happy drunk, right? Let's go. It's yeah, I mean, listen, so with you saying the whole Disney, I'm a huge Disney fan too myself, but I cannot say I know most of the songs, right? So speaking of that, a question I'm gonna ask you anyway is, what's our go-to karaoke song for Disney that we're singing?
Probably Part of Your World.
I don't know that
from
one.
The Little Mermaid, and that's only because Little Mermaid is one of my favorite movies. And when I first enlisted in the Marine Corps, the Little Mermaid hadn't been out for very long, and I used to make the guys in the barracks with me watch it every Sunday. It's just a good movie. So for me, that's a good one, but it's a little bit of a throwback.
I love it, man. I love it. Chris says Jenna would like you to sing Hakuna Matata. Yeah, let's go.
That's right.
God, I love it. I love it. Chris says, We still need to go to SIG, dude. I want to go. I'm a big gun advocate. I got many, many guns between me, my dad, and my two uncles. We have pretty much a gun store.
Sure.
I taught my son about guns at a very young age. I got videos of him in a diaper taking my guns apart and cleaning them and putting them back together. When he was 7 or 8, I bought him his first AR.
Oh, that's nice.
So we're big gun advocates. We go out and shoot. I haven't really shot in a while since COVID because ammunition just got absolutely redonkulous expensive.
Yeah.
But I do like to go out and get some relief for sure. 110%. A big Second Amendment guy to myself. So Dana says, just say it. You're Swifty, LOL. Yes.
All right. So I will admit, number one, I think that what Travis was able to do for Taylor Swift's career has been absolutely amazing. To elevate her to the status that she's at now, just absolutely fantastic. You do have to appreciate the fact that she made it to the Super Bowl in her rookie season. I know that the last year was kind of tough for her, but I'm not afraid to admit that I'm a Swiftie. I'm quite okay with it. Again, might be different if I was a little less secure, but I've seen me naked. I'm good.
There's something else we didn't know about you. You're a Swiftie, right? Let's go. I love it, dude. I love it. And, dude, real quick, Chris, speaking of SIG, I got a P365 I bought when they first come out, and I absolutely love it. It's I sent the slide off, got it engraved, Raptor cuts, all this stuff, put a true precision barrel in it. But my favorite handgun that I own is my FNN 509 Tactical. Man, I love that handgun. That is my baby. That my 300 Blackout that I built. Both of those are of course I got a son now, so I'm gonna leave them to him, but if not, they'd be going with me in the grave or getting burnt or wherever it is we go, right? So yeah, look, he says that if he isn't listening to Swiftie in the garage, he has Katy Perry going. I love it. See, more stuff is coming. I love this, dude. This is awesome. Oh my god. Are you a coffee drinker or a tea drinker?
I am a tea drinker. I have had 2 cups of coffee in my life and hated both of them. And the second one I drank, not to be rude. I drink diet soda like I should own stock. But tea is where it's at for me when I drink something like that. My wife and several friends, they're all about coffee, and I've got a couple of different Keurigs and other coffee making apparatus, but that's not something that's in my wheelhouse. I don't do it.
Yeah, I like black hot tea with honey in it. It's so good. Yeah, and some fresh lemon or something. Yeah, that's sure. Me too. Chris says I have a P365 Legion and love it. Yeah, I looked at the Legions. I'm probably going to be my next one. I like that, and the Springfield Hellcat's a nice one too as well. But dude, I'm a SIG guy, man. I mean, for real, I'm just that and FNN. I like both of those. So he says, yeah, welcome to come sit with us. Yeah, I will, dude. We'll have to get together and
the SIG customer experience and firing range isn't far away. That's kind of what he's talking about. Is that stuff is pretty accessible to us, and he's been trying to get me to go there with him for a while, and right now he's got a busted wing, so he's down for a little bit. But when he gets back up, we'll make it out there.
I love it. So speaking of all this, tell us what your worst habit is.
Oh my God.
I'm waiting for Dawn to pop it up. She's just waiting. She's like, da. Where do I start?
She would probably say that my worst habit is pretending I'm a motorcycle while I'm sleeping.
So you're a snorer.
Oh, like you read about, and earth-shatteringly so. I don't know. I'm confident that I have bad habits. I don't know. I don't know too much of them. I know I overcommit myself, which is probably not considered a bad habit to some people, but I don't know. I eat way too much junk food. I drink way too much soda. That's probably from a health perspective, that's the worst is I'm drinking soda constantly. So I'll go with that for now. I don't consider drinking a bad habit. I might if I wasn't a happy drunk. I am always late, and that's not always my fault. You shut up, mister. But he lives that. So yeah, that's fair. That's where I'm not the person to ask that question. It's everybody else.
I love it, man. I love it. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I used to read a lot, but now I find myself as I get younger, it puts me to sleep. So I'd rather just throw my earbuds in, or when I'm driving to Daytona, listen to some audiobooks or podcasts. So do you listen to audiobooks?
I
or
do
read?
occasionally. When my wife and I drive, we drive long distance fairly often, and we'll listen to satellite radio and go back and forth between stations and comedy. But there's times when we'll do audiobooks. The audiobook I'm listening to now is a book called Echo in Ramadi by Scott Husing, and it's his account of the company that he commanded in Ramadi, Iraq, back in Iraqi freedom. And it's a New York Times bestseller. He's a fantastic person. He's somebody that I served in training with for a short period of time in the Marine Corps as a new officer. And so for anybody that's interested in firsthand accounts of those kinds of things, it's a fantastic book. I used to listen to the Core series by W.E.B. Griffin. There are podcasts that I listen to. I like to watch the podcasts, especially like New Heights with Travis and Jason Kelsey. I watch your podcast, but the audiobooks and stuff, it kind of depends on what the flavor of the moment is. I don't necessarily like to do audiobooks for like development and self-help and stuff like that. I'd rather kind of read those books and go back to it, because when we're driving, I tend to kind of zone out. But I guess there is the aspect of learning by osmosis, right? Like just letting it drip in. It just doesn't always work that way for me. But yeah, for audiobooks and stuff, that's kind of it.
Yeah, I'm currently listening to The Art of Racing in the Rain. It's a book. It's also a movie. So if you guys haven't watched that movie, man, you gotta watch it. It's a race car driver movie where this guy, he's a race car driver and he gets his puppy, but the movie's through the eyes of the dog, the whole movie, and it's absolutely amazing. So that's what I'm currently listening to now as far as audiobooks go. Of course, I listen to a lot of podcasts. It just depends on what mood I am. And I do listen to a lot of the military. Yes, The Art of Racing in the Rain, bro. It's an absolute amazing book. If you're a dog lover, I'm a huge dog lover. So I'm big into the military, obviously, because I grew up into it. So I listen to Tom Shatterly's got a good audiobook that's out. I listened to the David Goggin one, of course, Chris Luttrell, and all those guys. It's that stuff's absolutely interesting to me. But yeah, it's something I like, man. So if there's two books, the ones he's listening to, and there you go, The Art of Racing in the Rain. It's absolutely, I'm telling you, that movie is just, my dog Charlie passed away. She's probably been gone, I don't know, about 6 months.
I'm sorry to hear that.
She's actually sitting right here on my mantle, but thank you. And I've been wanting to watch this movie, and about 2 weeks after she had, passed away, I was like, I come home one day, I said, I'm watching this movie. My wife says, I don't think you're ready. I said, I'm ready. You don't know. I'm ready, right? 3 minutes into the movie, I'm in there crying like a little 3-year-old kid. Oh, she comes around the corner, looks at me, she says, you're pathetic. I was like, oh, no, I'm in Charlotte. Yeah, but it's absolutely an amazing book. It goes along with kind of like Marley and Me and all those other dog movies that are absolutely amazing. But to me, this one's the best one for sure. So, awesome. Yeah, you should listen to it. You and Dawn, for real. Watch the movie. It's good. Spicy food, man. Do you like spicy foods?
Love spicy food.
Me too.
To the point where it's uncomfortable for most people.
I mean, you get along well.
It doesn't always agree with me, but yeah, I love it. And Dawn doesn't like. She likes the spice flavor, not necessarily spice heat. The running joke is I keep a bottle of Tabasco sauce on my keychain. And so I take Tabasco sauce everywhere. And something that always throws people off guard is I drink Corona with Tabasco sauce in it. So instead of putting like lime in it, I use one of those bottles of Tabasco, and it's a life changer. I promise you. I've never met a person that didn't like it. Everybody looks at me crazy, and I say, try it. And I always end up having to give that beer away. But it's the best thing ever. And like I said, Dawn keeps me stocked up with those little miniature Tabasco sauce ones. So, next time we run into each other, we'll have to do one of those.
We will at Jersey, Corona beer with Tabasco sauce. That's awesome.
It's life-changing. I promise you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try it, dude. You're gonna make me buy a little 6-pack and go get me some Tabasco sauce. I love hot sauce too, man. I like the hot ones on YouTube,
Yeah.
where they eat interviews. I got the Last Dab. I got a couple bottles of that. That stuff's really good. It's hot, but it's good, man. It's he says, yeah, Don says we put Tabasco in our Corona. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So, dude, tell us the one superpower you wish you had.
It's interesting. I've thought about that, and I don't know if this answer is going to be a good one or not. But I think time travel. And the reason I say that is because there are times where I would love to be able to go back in time and see different events, to experience them in person, right? To be able to see them, up close and personally. There are times where I'd like to interact with people. Certainly, the easy answer is there are times where I would like to spend more time with people that I have lost in different points in my life. And so that's probably a fairly selfish superpower. I don't know that I would want to do something to help other people. I think there's more stuff about me that I'd like to see. Now, the answer that I would probably tell you after, a shot of Jack or a glass of scotch is I want to be able to travel back in time to last week to, the arguments that I had where my wife tried to tell me that I had said something that I know I didn't say. And I could put that into it. We just all up in her face, but that's probably, again, a very selfish reason for wanting that as a superpower.
We love you, Don.
It accuses me of having memory problems, and time travel would be a solution to that issue.
Yes, it would. It's a good one. I love it, man. I would like to teleport. I think teleportation would be cool. So speaking of time travel, I'm big into Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology and all that. If you could travel back to any era of time, where would you go?
That's a really interesting question. There's a lot of things I think I would love to know the answer to. I'm not sure that we're supposed to know the answers to. Certainly if there was a way that I could travel back to see, how everything started, that would be interesting to have knowledge about that. I would love to know, who built the pyramids, because I disagree with Mojo Nixon. It probably wasn't Elvis, right?
Oh, come on, man.
I think that being able to go back and see in different historical events. So I don't know that I could pick a real time when to do it. I will say something I'm very interested in would be the American Civil War. And the reason that I say that is because there's a lot of stories that I've heard about people that were in families that were separated by, the sides of the war between the North and the South. And it would be very interesting to see what some of those interactions were like when it was people that didn't hate each other, when it was people that weren't around other soldiers on either side, and how they interacted, like what component of the war was in who they were, if that makes sense. And I'd be really interested to see like what the real human impact of that was and how it tore apart families. And that's probably a weird answer, but that's something I think I'd be really interested in understanding.
Yeah. There's so many different time periods I definitely want to go back and check out and just sit back and watch and be like, okay, I get it now. Yeah, okay. I see. Yeah, it would be very interesting for sure. Well, listen, man, dude, this has been a lot of fun. I said about an hour and 15. We're almost an hour and 30 into this, man. Dude, Daytona 200 is coming up. I don't want to make any calls. I got so many friends that race throughout the world, but at Daytona, I don't know, man. It's going to be a close battle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Josh has got a lot of momentum coming in, being a three-peat winner. I think it's going to be kind of hard to stop him, right? So we'll just see how it plays out and pans out. As far as what's your thoughts on MotoGP?
MotoGP is interesting for me. I used to be what I would consider a super fan, and to be honest with you, I'm excited about Toprak. I don't know that I've really been watching races. I've been such a bigger fan of the Moto A classes, and I've really gotten into some of the live streaming that they're doing out on the West Coast. 951 Live is streaming.
I'll watch it.
I think it's the CVMA
Yep.
Races out at Chuckwalla.
Yep.
certainly I like watching our races. And so honestly, I just haven't been watching MotoGP as much. And a lot of the people that I was a really big fan of are gone. Marquez, I've got kind of a mixed history and feeling with about. He's an undeniable talent. His brother is a big talent. And like I said, I'm really excited to see what Toprak does coming in. But I haven't been watching as religiously as I used to be in years past.
Yeah, Rossi was my dude, right? Still is my dude. The goat of all goats is Valentino. I named my son Hayden Rossi after Nicky Hayden Valentino, right? So, yeah, MotoGP's absolutely changed. Marquez, I mean, he's absolutely one of the goats, right? I mean, the injuries he's come back from is still out there kicking everybody's butt. As far as Top Rat goes, dude, he was dominant in World Superbike. I think it's going to take him a while to get to the grips because a MotoGP bike's a completely different animal than a production race bike. So it might take him time. I mean, he might not get it. He might. Who knows? This is the trick, right? So super excited to have him in. And of course, next year in 27, we go to 850s on Pirelli. So it's going to be times are changing, right? What about BSB? Do you watch BSB at all?
Not as much. It's funny, used to watch Scott Redding, watched a couple other people. I think I'm more a fan of the tracks out there than some of the riders. And one of my favorite YouTube videos of all time is the jump, right?
Cadwell Park.
I think
my favorite track.
That is a bucket list track for me, to be sure. But it's one of those things where I think I'd like to watch it and take interest in it, but I see more of like replays on YouTube and things than anything else. Like I said, it's weird that, especially since I've gotten into racing, even just at the low skill club level, and I don't mean the club is low skill. I mean I am. Even racing there, I haven't had the urge to watch as much racing as I had in the past. I really enjoy watching people that I know, people from the paddock, seeing people race that, race with us at Loudon or NEMRR, people that come up for the classic and things like that. So I get kind of invested in individual people. Like Super Carl is one of my favorite guys to go out and watch, right? And Eli and other people. So it's just interesting how it goes. Yeah, there you go. You got to send it. And sometimes, you send it too much. I figured that out, unfortunately, twice now. But I wish I could get more into the racing. I don't find myself getting as excited about it. Not as exciting as actually being at the track, and watching it. So maybe I haven't been able to get to a MotoGP race in a number of years, and I've never been over to see race Superbike. So maybe if I could swing those things again, I'd get more excited about them. But Motorway I enjoy, and like I said, our races I enjoy much more than watching those.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. Forget the MotoGP. Go to Cadwell Park. I went in 2023, and it was absolutely proper mega. It was the most fun I've ever had at any track. It was, it's one of those things. You see it on TV, and you're like, holy shit. You see it in real life, you're like, what? Are you kidding me right now? Yeah, it's dude, the people are beautiful. All the riders are absolutely proper mega. Made so many friends out there, and it's the best to me. This is how it goes to me in my order. It's the Isle of Man TT in any road racing, Northwest 200, Isle of Man TT, all that, right?
Yeah.
And then it's BSB, and then under BSB it follows Moto America, MotoGP, World Superbike, blah 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 blah. So it's yeah, man. BSB, Cadwell Park, let's freaking go, right? Yes, sir. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. MotoGP is cool too. Don't get me wrong. I've been to every MotoGP race at Indy. I went 05 to Laguna Seca, and the past 7 or 8 years to Texas. So one thing, Ben Lee, what's going on, Ben? How you doing? He says, true. What about the street circuit added to 2027? Andalusia or Adeline in because Australia, because this is the last year of Phillip Island, right? So yeah, it's Phillip Island's a legend of a track. It's one of my favorite tracks. I've never seen anybody go around Phillip Island like Casey Stoner. Not to this day, not Marquez, not Rossi, not Lorenzo. Nobody would Stoner.
But that's not my Phillip Island memory. My Phillip Island memory is rest in peace, Gavin the Seagull.
Andre Annoni headbutted coming down Lukey Heights. Yes, let's go.
That was for that to have happened and for them to have that on camera. That just, Gavin, you're a legend. That's all I'm saying.
Facts, dude. And did he turn around and come out with the helmet with the cigar on it? Yeah,
That's
dude,
right.
That was absolutely awesome. Yeah, dude. Nobody, I can't never forget that. I was watching it live. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me right now? And dude, he did it like a boss. Andre Annoni just went
That's right.
and kept on going. Also, another thing at Phillip Island also stands out with Anthony Gobert, RIP, another most talented racer I've ever seen, Phillip Island on a Moto.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man. Well, listen, Shawn, this has been absolutely proper, mega, really good time. As I always say, thank you so much for coming on here. I'm going to let you end the podcast, but before I'll give you the microphone to give all your shout outs and tell everybody where they can find you and all that good stuff.
Awesome.
First thing I want to say is, how I always say it, is thank you to each and every single one of you, because if it wasn't for Shawn and everybody coming on here and hitting those like and subscribes, I would not be here doing this. So I love each and every single one of you, and I appreciate all the love and support. Big shout out to K-Tech Suspension, SFL Mini GP, Jersey and South Florida. It's one of the best program we have in America. That's where all the future legends of our sport is actually coming out of right now. Big shout out. Listen, I got two friends that make undersuits. Okay. You're not going to go wrong about ordering from either one of them. First one is my man Tate at 64 Degree Racing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely proper mega human being. One of the best undersuits on the planet. Another one is Venom. My mama Aliki out there, venomsport.com. Absolutely amazing. If you're out there in California, make sure you go to Racer 401 program and mentorship. It's absolutely amazing program out there. Make sure if you're out there, please sign up. Go out there and say hi to Aunt Lee Terry, get you some Dunlop tires, see Mama Aliki, get you that Venom undersuit, or order from 64degreeracing.com and get you 64 Degree Racing undersuit. Big shout out to, man, I got three people along with saying that makes graphics for our sport too as well. What's up, Buttercup?
Maybe can I do some chores like throughout the week or this year to get this game called Rust to play with my couple of friends, JJ and Miles?
Yes.
Because it looks super fun.
Give me 5. All right. I'm almost done. And we'll talk. But yes, I'll get you your game. You got to do some chores.
Okay.
I know you're all too, you know that real well, don't you, Shawn? It's always that, right? Anyway, back to what I was saying. I got 3 buddies, good friends of mine that make graphics, whether you want your helmet wrapped, your bike wrapped, whatever. First one, obviously, is Reese Brody from REB Graphics. The second one is Chris Grazil from Drippin' Wet. And the third one is GRG Designs, my man Gus Rodeo. You're not going to go wrong from ordering from any one of those. Big shout out to Chef Eats. Big shout out to the Clothing Kings. So all my UK friends, you guys can go to theclothingkings.co.uk, and my American friends too as well, and order all your Pin to Gas merch out there. I get asked about my beanie hats and my soft shell jacket. That's where I got mine from. Big shout out to RD Racing, my man Jake Marsh out there in the UK. Of course, my man Jim Whitman at Vet2 Track. And also was saying that for all the veterans out there is if you know anybody that's been in an unfortunate accident that's maybe lost an arm or a leg or both legs and still want to get on a motorcycle, it is absolutely possible. Go to tbexusaexperience.org, sign up, get back out there, have fun, and live life again, right? Because don't let nothing hold you down. Get on them 2 wheels and be happy again, right? That's what it's about. But Shawn, thank you so much. Tell everybody where they can find you on the socials. One thing we did not talk about is the sponsorship side of things.
Yeah.
Yes, that's something we did not talk about.
So I guess I'll say this really quickly about it, is that I know coming in at my level, I didn't anticipate that there would be any kind of sponsorship or assistance available, right? You look at people in MotoGP and the other professional racing series, and there's money involved in advertising and those kind of things. And I was just looking for a way to defray some of the costs. So what I did is I took a look at the things that I was buying already, and I reached out to most of the companies that were supplying things like, oil, stomp grip, tank grips, different products, all balls, bearings, those kinds of things, where it was stuff that I was buying anyway. And you start looking through the websites and you see a link for racer support and you reach out to them, and what's the worst thing that they can say is no, right? And, the very first sponsor that I got was DP Brakes. Then Woodcraft Technologies came on board. And for anybody that has used Woodcraft on a street bike or on a race bike, it's good quality stuff. It's designed by racers for racers, and you just can't go wrong. Reese with REB Graphics, he was like, hey, yeah, sure, I'll pimp your ride kind of thing. The Motion Pro Tools makes some fantastic tools, and they do racer support. Like I said, Stomp Grip. I had a local neighbor that said, hey, you're making a lot of motorcycle noise over there. Can you calm it down? And I was like, well, why don't you come over and take a look? And, oh, how can I help support that? So now my neighbor who owns Midlife Crisis Recording Studios helps sponsor some of my stuff. When you take a look at Engine Ice, Blood Lubricants, they're all people that are making products for motorcycles. They're supporting racers. Then you have companies like Superbike Supply, right? Eric Yeski, who's just a fantastic ambassador for the sport. And he is so passionate about it. He's looking for, what he can do for everybody, for other people. But you mentioned before we got on the podcast, the difference between kind of sponsorships and friendships. And I'll tell you, there's nothing that I could do professionally or personally without Don's support. In the garage, Isaac and Dan, who were there helping encourage me, giving me constructive criticism and just helping me when I need it. Other guys in 15 North, like, Mike Nash and Roger Jr., Ely. I got to give a shout out to Mike Lee, because he just rocks, and he'll probably never see this, but I said it and I know, and that's good enough. But the support of the people that I know that have helped do this, and the companies that I've worked with that have helped make this more accessible and even easier for me are just fantastic. And I really appreciate you giving me a minute to give those people a shout out. But for people that are starting out, even if they're just doing track days, if you are on a website buying motorcycle parts, if you're buying motorcycle gear, go to the bottom of the website, look at the links, and see if they have something that says rider or racer support. If you ask them if they will do something for you, the worst thing that they can say is no, right? You haven't lost anything for asking. You've got everything to gain. And I will tell you that they are interested in promoting and growing the sport, because that's how they make their money. That's how they make their livelihood. And if you can help them do it, they're going to help you help them. So anyway, it's just a plug. A lot of people, when they're first starting out, probably wouldn't think to check that or to pursue that. I'm here to tell you it's a mistake, and you're missing out if you don't.
110%. With you saying all that, listen, if anybody needs any motorcycle parts, keep it within the industry. People, don't order that shit off Temu, Amazon, Walmart. Don't do it. There's we between us, we know, and everybody else, we got many friends that are in this industry that are making their living doing this, right? And one thing that I get asked all the time is, oh, I need a set of clip-ons. You know, Eric Wood, you think you give me a discount? No, I'm not getting you a discount. Just pay the full price, right? I mean, wait for Christmas, get a Black Deal Friday deal. This is how they make their living, right? If they're giving everybody discounts, then they're not making their living, right? So, dude, support those who support you.
That's fair.
And keep it in the industry. So
yeah, I definitely think that, we're the best people to support ourselves. I agree with that 100%. You asked me where people can find me if they have an interest. On Instagram, I'm under Shawn_H_465, 465 being my number. And on Facebook, I have a page for Moto Minute Clinic Racing. So if you look at that, come on. I try to keep both of those accounts limited to the stuff I'm doing in the garage and at the racetrack. So you don't have to put up with too much BS, but anybody that's interested and more than welcome. And I guess as a last thank you, I'd say thank you to you, Chris, for having me on. I told you, I don't know that I have anything that's that interesting to say, but at least there's a couple of people that have heard it, and we know that because they're responding. But there are very few things in life that I like talking about more than myself. And so I appreciate the opportunity to do that. And you probably figured out by now, you pull my string and I'll go for days at a time. So thank you very much. I I really, really appreciate the opportunity.
Listen, the honor is absolutely all my friend, and don't worry, because we're going to sit down and do a couple more of these for sure, because we definitely still got a lot to talk about. Listen, and everybody's journey is just as important as everybody else's, right? And that's what also helps grow our sport, because there's somebody out there that's, you know, younger in age like we are, that is thinking about getting into it, and your story is going to inspire them, right? So it's everybody. There's important puzzle pieces I always talk about. Your journey is one of those important puzzle pieces of the whole sum of the motorcycle community and that beautiful circus we're in. So it's very much deserved, man. And I thank you for sitting down with me, right? Little old me, and telling your whole journey and story out, man. It's an absolute honor. For those that missed this or come in halfway, didn't catch the whole thing, this episode will be out everywhere in about 30 minutes, Spotify, All Heart, and all that good stuff. I'm going to send him the links, and well, if you're subscribing to iHeart, subscribe to Pin the Gas, and you'll automatically get the notification, right? So there you go, and then you won't miss it. But big shout out to everybody that chimed in tonight. Thank you guys and girls so much for joining in. It's an absolute honor to have you guys and girls on the show. Yeah, absolutely. The list is long. And Ben says, thanks as always for the greatest podcast online. Peace, bro. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate all the love and support, my friend. Shawn, is there anything else you want to say before we get off here? Just stay on with me for a second after I end this.
Sure. Yeah, just can't wait for the season to start for us up here. It's too damn cold.
Bro, absolutely. And on that note, we are out of here, people. I'll catch you guys and girls at Daytona. Hopefully, if you're going to be there, don't worry. I got a couple more podcasts coming out before I go to Daytona. But on that note, we are out here. Appreciate it, Shawn. It's been an absolute honor. We will catch you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Calling all two-wheel enthusiasts, get ready to rev up your earbuds with Pin the Gas Podcast, the ultimate motorcycle racing podcast, hosted by Chris Simcoe, one of our very own excellent leaders here in Roanoke, Virginia. With expert analysis, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive writer interviews, Pin the Gas Podcast delivers the adrenaline rush of the racetrack straight to your ears. Whether you're a diehard fan or a curious newcomer, you'll gain insights that will transform how you watch and understand motorcycle racing. On your favorite podcast app, join Simcoe as he takes you on a high-speed journey through the world of motorcycle racing. Pin the Gas Podcast.
Well, I added in the